Moscow. It's the 5th race of the DTM season 2014. That means we're halfway through the season and we are here at Moscow Raceway. We were here last year as well. However, this year the track layout is completely different and more challenging. And with me is the first Russian ever to be in the DTM, Vitaly Petrov. Hello, first of all. How is it actually racing here? I mean, it's in your home, you've got so much support. However, I heard you really wanted to gain some points and you're starting from P23, so it might be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, of course it will be very difficult from where I'm starting. Of course, yesterday the results, it was not as well was expected, but it is like this anyway. So today it's another day, we try to do all the best. And of course, if you can see so many Russian flags there, I have a so big support. Thank you very much to my all big fans group and my family and friends. So they always follow me, you know, and yeah, but last time I was racing at my hometown was 2005, so it was quite a long time ago. And actually, also, I was never been here before. I was been here just a taxi driver, but I never raced here before, so it was also quite new for me. The track was really difficult, a very interesting second and third sector, where we actually lose a lot of time. But anyway, yeah, today we try to do all the best.
All the best and do enjoy the race. And now Vitaly took us on a lap on Moscow Raceway.
Hello everyone, I'm Vitaly Petrov. Welcome to Moscow, and now we'll do a quick lap at Moscow Raceway. First of all, you need to do a good exit of the last corner and then main straight, go to up to the top speed, 5th gear. Then first corner, 4th gear, touch the curb, touch the exit curb. Then 3rd gear, stay always inside. If otherwise you will lose the grip if you take 1 meter or left or right. Then very hard braking, 2nd gear corner, always lock in the front right. Then actually you must stay on 2nd gear all the time here, stay always inside and focus on the exit of the second left. Maximum speed, flat out, easy flat corner. Here you have time to drink some water. Then very light braking, 4th gear, very difficult corner, you don't see the apex. Then 2nd gear, try to touch inside the curb. Then same things, try to use entry curb. Light braking, always try to be inside, always lock in the front left. Use exit curb. Now it's important, left and right corner. Here it's maximum attack, and then you need to prepare for the long straight. And we need to do a perfect exit here because you can lose or win time. Also, it will be very interesting during the race. With using the race, you can pass a lot of cars. So who buy the tickets on the last corner, you can see a lot of overtaking. So maximum speed, 6th gear, very hard braking to 2nd gear. Touch, no, this was too much curb. Actually, we use less, and yeah, and then you do a perfect exit. This was my quick lap in Moscow Raceway. Enjoy the race.
And I'm here with Robert Wickens. Let's talk about your triumph at the Norris Ring, first of all. That was absolutely amazing. You basically flew across the water. It was your 2nd victory, but however, I believe that one was really special because you didn't celebrate by yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole race was kind of a dream, to be honest. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect going into the weekend. You know, for sure we knew we were going to be competitive, but I don't think anyone in Mercedes knew we were going to put 5 cars in the top 6 in qualifying. And in the race, I mean, it was great. I mean, yeah, the fact that I had family there, made it extra special. But at the end of the day, it's in the past now, and I'd like to get a full dry win once, because so far both my wins have come on rain races that dry at the end. So, but hey, I can't complain.
So now we're here in Moscow, and DTM was here last year already. However, this circuit is completely different. It's longer. Today in the race, what can we expect from you, starting from P14 and Mercedes-Benz altogether?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can just get a good start. I mean, I've had good starts in the past this year. I've actually only gained spots so far, so fingers crossed and knock on wood that I can do it again. But you know, in Budapest, I was close to points, finished P11, and I started, I think, 16th there. So. You know, if a good start and good strategy, some good lap times for sure. For sure, the goal is to try to get some points. But if I can score 8 points, 2 points, 4 points, whatever the case is, I think we would treat it like a win.
Well, best of luck for the race today. Thank you. And go get a haircut.
I'll try. Thanks.
Okay, here is the starting grid. Welcome to Moscow. His first pole in his DTM career for Maxime Martin, with Bruno Spengler alongside.
The second row of the grid is where you find Nico Müller, who's raced here in single-seaters, and last year's winner in the DTM, Mike Rockenfeller.
To the next row we see Adrien Tombe and Augusto Farfus, P5 and P6.
The top 8 on the grid rounded out by the championship leader, Marco Wittmann, and alongside him is Miguel Molina.
Then we go back to see the all-orange car of Jamie Green, and Timo Glock is alongside him.
Behind comes the disappointed Matthias Ekström, only 11th. He out-qualified just teammate Edo Mortara.
Then we see Antonio Felix da Costa, P13, and the first Mercedes to show with Robert Wickens in P14.
Another Mercedes comes next, that of Daniel Junqueira, and then Joey Hand for BMW lines up 16th.
Behind them is Timo Scheider then and Paul de Resta.
More Mercedes come next, though. Disappointment in qualifying for Pascal Wehrlein, who is 19th, and 20th is Gary Paffett.
Christian Vitoris, P21, Martin Tomczyk then, P22.
And the grid completed with Vitaly Petrov. Well, let's hear from the pole man, Maxime Martin. He's with Verena.
Yes, absolutely amazing. We are halfway through the season and Maxime got his first pole position. Congratulations, that really was a hot performance yesterday. How hot is the race going to be and how optimistic are you to actually end up on the podium this time?
Yeah, I'm really optimistic. The qualifying was really good. The race is another story, it's really long, but I think I have the best place to start, so I'm really looking forward and see where we are.
Best of luck, thank you very much, and back to you guys.
So he did a fantastic job in qualifying yesterday. The quality and the talent in Maxime Martin, David, more than once, you've really pushed that to the top of our agenda, and yesterday he proved it.
He's always been a star in GT racing as Maxime Martin. Now he comes to a category with a lot more aero, a lot more downforce, and it's taken him a little bit longer perhaps than he would have liked to adapt, but these are very intricate cars. He is there on pole position, the first ever Belgian to qualify on pole position for a DTM race. We've had a Belgian champion, Eric van der Poel, in 1987, but he never won a race. So we've never had a Belgian driver win a DTM race, and Maxime Martin could put himself in the history books today.
He could very much do that. Man, disappointed with his qualifying performance that you alluded to when we went through the grid is Matthias Ekström, P11 for him. As we look at Timo Glock now, the Deutsche Post colours of the BMW, the ex-Formula One star, of course. Timo Glock is there in P10. And blistering sunshine here at the Moscow Raceway. A big, big crowd here to enjoy the DTM race this afternoon. I'm Dave Richardson. Alongside me is David Addison. And, well, everything is set for a superb race. Jamie Green.
Who really does need to try and work his way into the points. He starts 9th on the grid. Jamie's had some good races this year in terms of pace, but has really struggled to count those into decent points and decent race results.
Brilliant shot here of the Moscow Raceway, and grid graphics for you with the different tyres in the column there. Yellow tyres, David, being those preferred by those at the front of the grid.
The yellow is the softer tyre, which is quicker, and the way that the regulations work, you can do a maximum of 23 laps on the so-called option tyre, the soft tyre. It's a 48 lap race, so you can't quite go halfway on them, so you're looking at a 23 and a 25 lap break, and therefore there's going to be a couple of laps crossover where everybody's going to be on the harder tyre. I'll come back to tyres in a moment. We ought to hear, I think, for BMW from Jens Marquardt with Verena.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Marquardt, we saw a fantastic qualifying yesterday. You've got BMW in P1 and P2, and also I've got Wittmann in P7 and Farfus in P6, so that does look very, very good. How optimistic are you to do a really good race here in Moscow?
Well, I mean, as you said, the starting positions aren't too bad. Have the front row and 3 more cars in the top 10 is not a bad starting point, but we all know it's going to be a tough and tight race. temperature is fantastic, crowd is fantastic, so everything is set. So now the 23 guys just have to execute and give the fans a good show, and we'll see what the result is going to be.
I'm sure it's going to be absolutely amazing. Thank you very much, Mr. Marquardt. And now we're going to move on, because directly behind BMW is Audi with the next 3 cars. Hello, first of all, Mr. Gass. Now, BMW is right ahead of you, but behind BMW you have 3 Audis. So it does look pretty good for a good race for Audi, right?
Yes, I think I'm expecting a really exciting and very, very close race. We have 3 cars in the top 5, as you say, so we could play a little bit with the tire strategies, and I hope at the end of the day it's going to pay out.
So you think you have a good strategy?
Yes, I hope we have a good strategy. We have a good distribution in strategies between the cars, so we should, in any case, for the race, be in a very good position.
It's going to be a hot race. Thank you so much, and back to you guys.
Thank you, Verena. Dieter Gass there, talking on strategies, tyres. You've done an awful lot of number crunching and fiddling around with your pen and paper with regards to tyres and how it could pan out this afternoon.
I don't claim necessarily to have got this absolutely right, because, of course, this is the first time the cars have raced around here. The first lap is always going to be the slowest anyway, because it's from a standing start. The real point to all of this, as you look at the championship standings, are that if you're at the front of the grid and you are on the softer tyre, you can get away. If you are on the harder tyre and there are people on the option behind you,
yes,
you're going to lose time over and above the fact that the standard tyre, the prime tyre, is about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds a lap slower anyway. You're going to lose time by battling. Now, you don't want to let everybody past you, because you've only got to get past them again in the second stint. But if you defend, you're going to lose a lot of time, and that's what we saw Bruno Spengler have in the last dry race, the last full dry race at the Hungaroring. Some very crude number crunching suggests that you could, if you started on the harder tyre, the prime tyre, be something like 52 seconds down come the second stint of the race, and you'd have 23 laps in which to catch up, and therefore you'd have to be slightly more than 2 seconds a lap faster. And it's doable, but it's a very tall order indeed. So do you let people go and keep out of the traffic and lose less time? But then you'd have to overtake more cars in the second stint.
It's interesting what Dieter Gass was saying, though. He's got a mix of strategies across the cars, hasn't he? So we should make clear that, of course, we have been to the Moscow Raceway once before, but it is the first time that we're using this configuration of the circuit, which is 3.9 kilometres. And there is Maxime Martin, who got that 3.9 kilometre circuit absolutely nailed perfectly yesterday.
Yes, this configuration adds about 1.4 Ks to what they raced on last year, and it's given us a much longer straight. Now, Vitaly Petrov was talking about how with the DRS you should get some overtaking at the end of that straight into a corner that's halfway between being a sort of 90-degree corner and a hairpin. It's a bit tighter than a 90 left. Anti-clockwise circuit, this, bear in mind, as the grid is now being cleared. But if we're going to get any heroics up the inside under braking, it will be that last turn.
And we have to bear in mind that the heroics have to be measured, because in every other action on track over the course of this weekend, the race stewards have been ruling with their rod of iron with regards to track limits, and the problem areas have been turns 13 that we were just talking about and turn 1.
And you'll see why when you have a look at the track on this formation lap, because both have runoff area. Turn 13, you carry all the speed into the corner. Turn 1 is a very fast corner anyway, and all those turns being monitored very closely by the officials with extra cameras.
Yes, they're absolutely across every part of those 2 turns. As we look at Bruno Spengler there, P2 on the grid, the BMW bank car. And the cars roar off then on their formation lap here at the Moscow Raceway. A big crowd to enjoy the racing here in Russia as DTM revisits. And the 3.9 kilometre circuit now ahead of them on this, their formation lap. Marco Wittmann, the championship leader, on 58 points. Edo Mortara on 39. Mike Rockenfeller right in the centre of your screen just then, of course, the champion from last year. Had a good time of it here in Moscow when last we were here exactly a year ago.
And a new dad as well, Mike Rockenfeller. His new son, Phil, born just a few days ago. So a win would be a great present, I think, wouldn't it, for the family? You're riding on board with Edo Mortara, who is second in the championship, but qualified only 12th. He's got some work to do. And at the front of the field, it is this BMW lockout, Maxime Martin and Bruno Spengler, both on the soft tyres. Now, it's going to be interesting to see whether they attack each other or work together and try and pull clear of the pack, and I would suggest that's what they need to do. They can't squabble, because they've got Nico Müller also on the softer tyres, third on the grid. And if they battle and hold themselves up, he'll be able to buy into that fight. They don't need that at all.
No. And Nico Müller, P3 on the grid, he was impressive through qualifying, wasn't he? It's one of the best qualifyings we've seen from Nico Müller. And, of course, he and Maxime Martin first into the DTM for this season. So a brilliant performance from both of them, to be honest. And they're split, of course, by Bruno Spengler, the old campaigner, I'm tempted to say, who is P2 on the grid.
Müller has raced here in Formula Renault, different type of car, I'll grant you. Maxime Martin has never raced here in anything, so it really was a stellar effort by the Belgian. That is the lap. The first sector comes at the end of the first twiddly bit. The second sector comes as they accelerate onto the back straight, and the final sector, of course, brings them to the timing line, which is just out of turn 13. This is another of those circuits where the start and finish lines are in different places, and up to the front of this stagger grid comes Maxime Martin. Now, alongside him is a man with a lot more DTM experience, a lot more experience of getting these cars off the line. With all due deference to Maxime Martin, it would not surprise me if Spengler were just a little bit stronger away from the grid, but we'll find out.
So we've been into all the garages to check out the anxiety and the nerves on the team directors as we are about to get this race underway. Final cars coming into grid. Our commentary position is right on the home straight, very up high on the right-hand side of that main grandstand that you can see in your picture. We get the green flag from the marshal at the rear of the grid. The lights will come on. We'll have 5 lights on. The engine note rises. So does the excitement and the anticipation as the lights go out and we are away and racing in Russia. And it's a brilliant start from Maxime Martin. So Bruno Spengler not able to get the sort of start that he would like. Maxime Martin has converted that straight away.
Take my hat off to him. It was a good getaway. There's a bit of bumping going on between the Mercedes, but Martin leading from Spengler. Tombe was trying to gain ground as well. So too Mortara, and Rockenfeller on the harder tyre. Look, he's going backwards in drama. Jamie Green has got him. I think Mortara went with him.
So Jamie Green out. We're on board with Jamie Green now as he tries to wrestle his way back onto the circuit.
Drama for Audi right from the start. It was Mortara, and I think he's picked up damage because the car did not seem to want to turn. So Martin leads from Spengler and Müller, and up to 4th has come Adrian Tombe. Rockenfeller is the leading driver on the harder tyre. Farfus is on the hard tyre, and Ekstrom's got past him.
Yes, he has. Ekstrom has gone through. We're on board with Augusto Farfus now. This is the opening lap here of DTM at the Moscow Raceway on this 3.9-kilometre circuit. The race being led from a fantastic start from Maxime Martin.
But Rockenfeller is the man under attack. Wittmann's on the soft tyre, and he will go through here as they work their way uphill. Rockenfeller can't afford to let too many by, but he's got Ekstrom, his teammate for Audi, breathing down his neck. And this is all down to tyres. Yes, Ekstrom's a quick driver, but you can see how much better an option the softer tyres are at the moment as Molina gets run out wide there in the red Audi.
As you can see on the bottom of your screen, the yellow indicates that they are on the faster tyre. And the arrows indicate whether they've moved up or moved down on this, the opening lap. As Timo Glock comes under some pressure now, and here comes Mercedes, and bold move into turn 1.
They get away with it, but both cars run wide and a compromise and almost look being squeezed towards the pit wall as they come over the line. You've got 4 in this great battle. The BMW of Da Costa is in the midst of all of that as well. Vittori's gaining ground as they work their way through. The Mercedes drivers are in danger of eliminating one another here because they've all got themselves together and it's all a bit scrappy, and Ekstrom is being held up by Rockenfeller here.
Well, that was such a brave move by Robert Wickens, wasn't it? As Ekstrom now goes through. So into that turn 13, Robert Wickens taking a dive up the inside there, actually made that count.
Have a look at Rockenfeller relative to Farfus because they're the top 2 on the harder tyre. Farfus is going to have to let Glock go. He's on the softs. But Farfus, his target in the race at the moment is nothing to do with these cars around him on the soft tyre. His target is one car but one up the road. It's the green and yellow Audi of Rockenfeller, also on the harder tyre.
So there is Augusto Farfus then. His target being, as you've indicated, the Rockenfeller car as Danny Juncadella. We didn't see that live, did we?
Did he fall or was he pushed? This was Mortara getting into the back of Jamie Green. He went for a gap but wasn't there, and those two made contact. This was Jamie's take on it. Suddenly the car gets loose with a bit of help. Round he goes. And he just kept it out of the gravel as the field streams past, so disaster for Jamie Green right from the off. Now, Maxime Martin led by 11 tenths at the end of lap 1. It's now 1.7 seconds. I just wondered whether Spengler was just backing off a little so that he defends from Muller and lets one BMW get away. But it's a bit early in the season, maybe, for Spengler to be a sacrificial lamb. But let's just monitor the pace of those two BMWs as the stint unwinds.
Going into this, Bruno Spengler, P10 in the points. So, there is Rockenfeller, the champion. Here had a great time on the Moscow Raceway exactly a year ago, and under investigation, the incident between cars number 21 and 19. That, of course, well, it's Danny Juncadella and Jamie Green. So Martin leading. There is Christian Vittoris in the black and chrome Mercedes. Martin, Spengler, Muller, Tombe Wittmann, Ekstrom, Rockenfeller, Glock, Farfus and Vittoris, the top 10.
Yeah, Christian Vittoris is on the soft tyre, and he's made very good progress, hasn't he? From the 11th row of the grid, he started 21st. Rockenfeller is defending from Glock, but he can't do it forever, nor can Farfus defend from Vittoris, because here you've got the prime against the option tyre, and as they come down the fast straight towards turn 13, Rockenfeller is under attack from Timo Glock, who should line up to have a go on the inside. He has a look. If he's late on the brakes, he's going to make the move. He does so, he commits, and Glock goes through down to put himself 7th.
And as you can see, DRS has now been enabled by race control. So that giving the drivers the opportunity to dip that rear wing. And there is Vittoris on Augusto Farfus. This the battle for P9 then. The chrome and black Mercedes of Christian Vittoris and the all green Castrol Edge car of Augusto Farfus ahead.
First flying lap, Maxime Martin compared to Mike Rockenfeller, 2.4 seconds faster. Now, again, Rockenfeller is trying to defend, so he's losing a little bit of time there, but generally, we're not far away from this 2 seconds a lap difference between the soft and the hard tyre. And the point I'm making about all of this, lap after lap, is that when you add all of that time lost over the first stint, it does give them a big ask in the second stint of the race.
You're right, it is a big ask. First warning comes for Martin Tomczyk in car number 10 for failing to manage the track limits. See what comes of that.
Farfus here is doing a good job of keeping Vittoris at bay. The trouble is he's losing time by being defensive.
Well, whether Farfus is doing a good job, well, he is doing a brilliant job in terms of defence. Vittoris desperately needs to get past Farfus here. And this is the place now. With DRS enabled, is that going to give Vittoris enough? He should dive up the inside anytime now. There he goes, and he's going to be able to go through, isn't he? Doubtless Augusto Farfus will try, but he's never going to be quick enough to be able to do a switchback there.
The danger is with the DRS, you brake so late, you run wide. Robert Wickens has gone wide, and Tomczyk is up alongside him. Wickens on the harder tyre, Tomczyk is on the soft, and Tomczyk gets the inside line, and he gets 11th place at turn 1.
So on board with Robert Wickens in the back end of Tomczyk now. Pull away, there is Tomczyk, there's Robert Wickens, Antonio Felix da Costa behind. But here is our race leader who's doing a phenomenal job. Maxime Martin, 2.8 seconds over Bruno Spengler.
And he's still nearly 2 seconds a lap quicker than his Mike Rockenfeller, so it's all adding up for him. And this is the beauty of being on pole and starting on the soft tyres. You just escape. Now, of course, if in the second stint there is a safety car and it bunches everybody up, then the advantage definitely swings to those who in the second stint of the race are on the softs. But this is the kind of circuit where a safety car is unlikely, given how much runoff and how many perimeter and access points there are.
Yes, that's absolutely something that, following our track walk, we decided that the likelihood of a safety car was minimised, wasn't it? No further action is going to be taken regarding the incident between cars 21 and car number 19. That's Juncadella and Jamie Green.
Now, Vittoris has got past Farfus and has pulled away. As we look at a replay of the start, Maxime Martin very good out of the blocks. A good effort made by Gary Paffett, look, as well,
yes,
from lower down on the grid. He went for a gap up the inside in the blue and yellow Mercedes. They're up against the pit wall. He's currently running in 20th position, but Martin had the grip off the outside line from pole position and secured the lead going into the first corner. It was behind where it got a bit leery, wasn't it? The first one put out wide was Mortara, and it then sort of went from bad to worse for him. This was Wittmann's take on the start. He's on the outside, but the trouble is he can't really cut across and make a move against Farfus. He tries it at turn 2, and there it does work.
So great to see that on board from Wittmann. We see it on board now from Robert Wickens on the back of Timo Glock. And he has to bail out of that. Now, this is Jamie Green going sideways. You can see the opposite lock being piled on there from Jamie's Audi.
And he was the innocent party and all that. He got a tag from behind. And there it is, looking back from the BMW. You saw Mortara arriving a little bit too quickly, went for a gap but wasn't on. He couldn't slow down in time, tagged Jamie Green, and round they went. And this was how Audi saw it. Pretty disgruntled about that, as two cars are badly delayed.
So there is the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen detailing who's done what after the start. Tombe up, Wittmann up, Ekstrom up, Glock up. Tombe done a fantastic job. Wittmann also done a great job, but Vitoris, an awesome job, up 12.
And Martin Tomczyk up 11 places, Jamie Green down 12, but we know that largely that's because of the tag that he had with Mortara. Martin's lead now is 3.6 seconds. You're looking at the battle that's going on between Adrian Tombe and Marco Wittmann. This is for fourth place, Audi versus BMW. It's a genuine battle for position because they're both on the softer option tyre, and they've got Ekstrom on the soft buying into it, and he is doing a very good job working his way up the order as well.
Yes, he is. Wittmann needs to get up the order, doesn't he? He comes into this race at Moscow with 58 points in the championship. Edo Mortara in P2. The more points that Marco Wittmann can bag, it's really, really important into this very, very successful season that Marco Wittmann is having. So we're on board with him now as he pushes the team RMG BMW around this Moscow circuit. Into the left-hander now, just a little blip uphill before they turn right. Back on board with Wittmann. And that's where Wittmann really needs to be. Almost in the boot of Tombe as Jamie Green goes off. It goes from bad to worse for Jamie Green.
And that's the end. He's parked it, and I wonder whether there's some damage incurred in that first tangle with Edo Mortara. It just looked, as the car pulled off, as though the rear wasn't quite right, as though maybe there's been a bit of damage there. It gets over the curb and all crabby. Now, whether he was over the curb because of earlier damage or that curb hopping caused the damage, not sure. But there you can see the rear suspension, it is slightly out. And whether that was the breakage or it had been weakened in the first lap tangle because it was on that corner, and it's hard to know. But you can see there, loose wheel, that's the end for Jamie Green.
What a shame. Jamie Green then coming off the back of a great performance at the Norris Ring, has a torrid time of it here in Moscow.
Maxime Martin is the only man at the moment lapping in the 29s. I know he's got the clear road ahead of him, but Bruno Spengler is not being able to stay with him. There is the gap. It's as good as 4 seconds. And Spengler, I suggested earlier, might be a sacrificial lamb. I don't think he is, because he doesn't need to be, because Muller is not close enough to him. So Spengler, at the moment, is unable to match the pace of Maxime Martin, who really has arrived on the DTM scene. And if anybody thought Maxime who, well, now he's illustrating why he's been revered in GT terms for so many seasons.
Okay, Christian Vitoris now behind Mike Rockenfeller.
So Rockenfeller, Dave, is still effectively your Class B leader. He's leading that race for those on the hard tyre.
Now, what Christian Vitoris can ill afford to do is be hung up behind Rocky for as long as he was behind Farfus. If he needs to drive himself up the order. P9 at the moment for Christian Vitoris, P8 for Mike Rockenfeller, as you can see there on the graphics on screen. All bar a 10th, Maxime Martin leading this race by 4 seconds. In fairness, as they cross the timing line, the leaders, as Vitoris now goes for the move up the inside here at turn 13 on Mike Rockenfeller with no problem whatsoever. So Vitoris moves up another place, and it's Martin, Spengler, Muller, Tombe, Wittmann, Ekstrom, then it's Glock, Vitoris, Rockenfeller and Farfus. Here in replay then is how Christian Vitoris was able to dive up the inside there at turn 13 and move up a further place.
Combination of the better tyre and the quicker tyre and the DRS all add together. More track limit issues. Nico Muller is now being reported to have failed to manage them at turn 1. He is running in 3rd place, but he's being hunted down by Adrian Tombe, who was quicker by 4/10 last time. So there they are, almost nose to tail, and of course Tombe is being spurred on by having Marco Wittmann behind him. So up front it is Maxime Martin from Bruno Spengler, BMW, but the fight for 3rd now is well and truly joined. It's this internecine fight between the Audis of Nico Muller and Adrian Tombe.
Yes, and Nico Muller just appeared to run a little bit wide in one of the sections of that sweeping turn before they get to the right-hander that takes him onto this long uphill drag towards turn 13. A problem for Paul Di Resta, who is also bailing his car out of this race. There's Nico Müller, there's Adrian Tombe, there Marco Wittmann and Matthias Ekström. So that is well, that's the battle to watch at the moment, isn't it? So there's Müller going through, there's Tombe. Go back on board with Marco Wittmann then. Great shot there that we're able to bring you on lap 9 of 48 here at the Moscow Raceway.
The closer Tombe has got to Müller, the more stuck he has become, and that's enabled Wittmann to close up. So
Yes.
then Tombe has to defend, and he drops back, but he's about to be given a free gift, as it were, because Matthias Ekström is about to get onto the back of Wittmann. So when Wittmann defends, Tombe can then have that pressure release. He can concentrate on attacking for third against Müller.
Fair point you make. So there is Adrien Tombe.
Oh. And that dust storm was Müller's, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Müller's. And it's where Müller ran wide on the last lap, just caught him going out very, very wide there. And again, he goes certainly wider than Adrien Tombe. Now the right-hander, and Wittmann there, just ready to try and pounce, and more dust being kicked up from the AstroTurf to the outside of that curb.
Would you agree that Müller is now looking a little bit untidy, because the pressure from Tombe is starting to tell, isn't it? And I just wonder how long it's going to be before Adrian makes his move. It could even come now. He has a look up the inside, a long look at turn 13. It doesn't come. Now, is this going to be a battle that is controlled from the pit wall, or is it going to be just down to the drivers?
I can't answer that.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yes.
It's an interesting one. Müller for the Rosberg team, whereas Tombe is for the Abt team. And it looks now as though Müller is holding him up. This is Farfus being overtaken by Tomczyk. Prime tyre versus option, plus the DRS. And Tomczyk just flies by.
So, black and white flag being issued. Now, this is going to rattle Müller. And Tombe has got past him. And Ekström is having a go as well. Just look what Tombe has been able to do. So Tombe has got past Müller. Ekström has got past Wittmann. And there goes Ekström and Wittmann as well. Müller has just lost a whole handful of places.
He's going to lose another one to Glock, and I wonder whether he's got a problem, because he's certainly losing pace as well as being untidy. He's run out wide, and Glock's going to charge up the inside heading into the next corner. Goes to turn 11, but he can't quite make a move there. Can he get the switch back? He wants the inside at 12, and if it doesn't work there, he'll sit in the wheel tracks, use the DRS, and go charging by under braking. But all of a sudden, Müller's car has lost pace. The real beneficiary, of course, is Ekström, who's carving up the order.
Indeed. Well, doubtless we'll see a replay of how that all unfolded, because we were looking at something else. And Glock now just takes a look at the inside. He's not going to be able to do it, but Müller is wide outside now, and Glock is going to stick his nose in. Now, can he be committed to this? There's just a touch between them, and Timo Glock remains committed, but, well, Müller clearly ran wide there, didn't he? But
Remember the end of the Budapest race where they tangled at the first hairpin, and neither were very amused with the other, so they've got previous, these two, and Glock is much the quicker. He almost gets into the back of the Audi. That runs wide. Has he got the traction coming out of the corner? He has, but he's got the outside line. Müller is doing a pretty good job of defending, but eventually he's going to have to cede the place. Glock's up alongside him. He's on the wrong line, and so Müller hangs on. Fantastic. This is somebody who clearly now no longer has a car as quick as that he's defending from, but he's staying ahead.
doing a great job, isn't he?
Is he ever?
Against Timo Glock here. And you can see Glock has been, well, more than aggressive in one or two places. Just a little tap earlier on, but none of that has fazed Müller at the moment as we stay with this battle between Nico Müller and Timo Glock. And look, Glock going every which way but loose. He's out on the curbs now, and that's not an orthodox overtaking place. He runs Müller out wide. It's the long straight heading towards turn 13.
Can Müller use the DRS and fight back? He is going to open the DRS. The wing drops. Is he near enough? He hasn't got the natural car speed anyway, so he's always going to be doing this with one hand tied behind his back, and he can't get close enough to threaten Glock. There is something not right with that Audi. It's losing places, it's losing pace, but that was one heck of a lap.
Whoa, what a lap that was. And you can see in replay here. Now that was where Glock put his nose up the inside there. Had no alternative but to run Muller right out onto the runoff area. Muller straight back at him though, to be fair. Half on the grass, David. Absolutely incredible stuff in DTM here at Moscow.
He was not going to lift, was he? Nico Muller. There is the race leader, Maxime Martin, whose lap times have gone up a little bit as the tyres start to lose some of their edge. He's gone from the high 29s into the low 30s now. He's not lost much time, and he's lapping a fraction slower, but last time he was still half a second quicker than Bruno Spengler. Now, in real terms, he is currently 25.4 seconds ahead of Mike Rockenfeller. That's the man he's racing here as the leader of those on the harder tyre.
And of course, that's what he needs to do, isn't it? It's get that margin as high as he possibly can. There, the gap between Martin and Bruno Spengler, then you can see on screen 5.5 seconds last time. Here is P3, Adrien Tombe. So the Playboy livery of Adrien Tombe through turn 13. Down the start-finish straight.
Sorry, Dave, just while we're talking tyres, Rockenfeller to Farfus, who is the other driver running competitively on the harder tyre, and there he is. That's 4.9 seconds. That's going up, and Farfus is about to lose another place here because Pascal Wehrlein has got the jump on him heading into turn 13. So Farfus is the second of those on the harder tyre, but effectively 5 seconds behind Rockenfeller. So after the pit stops, he's going to have been, I'm afraid, I would think, a long way down the order because those on the option tyre are still going to keep track position ahead. So Farfus here is still struggling. He's got a lot more time to make up than Rockenfeller has in that second stint. And of course, he didn't qualify as well as Rockenfeller in yesterday's three-part qualifying session. So he's slightly slower anyway, plus he's losing time across the stint. So Farfus, I fear, is out of the equation, certainly for a win. Whether a podium is on, doubtful as well.
Well, we're looking at our race leader, Maxime Martin, and comparing to Mike Rockenfeller and, well, lap 13, 26.924. So your calculations from earlier, your number crunching, you're not an awful long way out, are you? Just to make you feel good.
Thanks. If it's anything over 52 seconds between the leader and the leader of the prime tyre class, as it were, then that's a very big deficit to make up in the remaining time. It's doable if it's a clear road. The trouble is it won't be because they'll have to work their way through traffic, and that's when it becomes very difficult indeed. Now here, Mike Rockenfeller is about to lose a little bit of time because he's got Tomczyk behind him. So what does he do? Does he let him go, bearing in mind that's a car he'd have to overtake later, or does he try and defend and therefore lose a little bit of time against the race leader, Maxime Martin, in real terms? Let's find out. They come across the line, separated them by 1/5 of a second.
Well, as you say, if he lets him go, it's another car he's going to have to get past in the second stint, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to make life more difficult for him. So Mike Rockenfeller, then the champion, defending against Tomczyk. P9, P10 on the track at the moment. 14 of 48 laps around this 3.9 kilometre circuit.
And the pit window, irrelevant as it is these days, opens at lap 16, but nobody will come in then because they'll want to go as far as they can on the option tyre because that's the faster tyre. So the window these days really is largely there for the regulations only. This is the replay of Tombe getting past Muller, and Muller, I think, let him go. What he couldn't do was cut across and defend from Wittmann in time.
Now that's what we didn't see live, and great to see that in replay. Thank you. And, well, he was trying hard against Wittmann, and that was where Ekstrom went through as well.
So losing places to quicker Audis, less of a problem, but the fact that Wittmann and Glock got past them as well, I don't think was in the plan, was it? Now, under investigation is an incident between Timo Glock and Nico Muller.
Right.
We saw them getting quite leery coming out of turn 12, and the stewards are going to have a look as there, down to the last corner, Nico Muller's woes continue because he's now lost another place. Christian Vitoris goes ahead, and also you've just seen Tomczyk running ahead of Rockenfeller.
So constantly changing here. Here's Rocky just taking a look once again at Tomczyk.
Rockenfeller is now effectively 31 seconds back from Maxime Martin, and of course there's a BMW that's ahead of him. Now, if mysteriously Tomczyk were to start losing pace, that would compromise the Audi's race, wouldn't it?
Here's Vitoris on Nico Müller then in replay, and yet you were right to pick that up. Tomczyk there and Rockenfeller.
We had a shot a moment ago of the front of Tomczyk's car, and I just wondered whether there was something clogging up half of the grille. I want another look at that, because if he has got some dirt or some grass in it from running wide or it being kicked into his face, then that car might start overheating, and it's just worth another look at that. That's Bruno Spengler, who is in second spot, coming out of turn 12. You can see behind him the leading Audi of Adrian Tombe, but Ekstrom is the real gun at the moment, isn't he? Up to 4th place from 11th on the grid.
So there is Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann. Two BMWs together there, the Ice Watch livery of Marco Wittmann we're on board with, and Timo Glock very nearly getting right into the back of Marco Wittmann and dives up the inside. So Timo Glock now will move up to P5.
Still debating whether or not Müller has got a problem. Now that we've seen that replay, it did look as though he tried to let Tombe through, but that was put offline and couldn't retaliate in time and defend. But he's losing more places. And in fact, as I say that, he comes down the pit lane, and this is a very early stop. That is a very early stop. He was on the soft tyre. He goes onto the hards. That's a very long stint, but at least it gets him out of traffic. Maybe those soft tyres were deteriorating anyway because of earlier abuse.
And also what we should consider is the track temperature here. I mean, it's really hot here in Moscow, isn't it?
Yeah. So is that going to set a trend now? And therefore, are the harder tyres going to be the way to go because they've got better durability and longer life, better longevity? Let's see if anybody else bails for the pit lane this time, because up front, Martin Spengler, Tombe Ekstrom, Glock, Wittmann, Vitoris, Tomczyk, the top 8 now, all on the soft tyres. Müller, of course, has been doing quite a bit of battling, so that might be why his aren't in the best of states. Might be that there's a problem, he might have picked up some debris onto a tyre, might have a little flat spot or a ball of rubber perhaps that he's run over and creating a vibration. Lots of reasons why he might have wanted to bail. Martin Spengler is 8 seconds though, and at the moment nobody else looking as though they're coming to pit in.
Well, it's an incredible performance from Martin, isn't it? 8 seconds he leads Bruno Spengler.
And Spengler's no dummy, is he? Former champion, of course, and has won races for Mercedes and BMW. Farfus there is the background, was defending from Mortara over the line. Rockenfeller, interestingly, is staying with Martin Tomczyk. Still looks as though there might be something in the front on the left-hand side. Farfus has lost out then. Past him has gone Mortara for 11th. Farfus tries to fight back, but Mortara on the softer tyre, recovering after his dramas on the first lap, which may have contributed to the exit of Jamie Green. He's fighting back and he's working his way up the order again now.
So here we can see in replay Antonio Felix da Costa getting together there with Robert Wickens.
Yeah, Wickens gave him the chop, and then up the inside, look, goes Miguel Molina, gets past the pair of them. And this is Mortara's move against Farfus on the outside, heading down to turn 13. Brakes as late as he possibly can. Gives Farfus racing room, and he's got the drive out of the corner. There is the race leader, Maxime Martin. In second place, Bruno Spengler. His last lap was a 31.4. He is being caught ever so slightly by Adrian Tombe. 4th in the Red Bull Audi is Ekstrom. 5th in the yellow Deutsche Post BMW is Glock. 6th, the championship leader, Wittmann, who looks like he's pitting this time. And that's interesting because, again, it's a little bit earlier than we would have anticipated. 23 laps is the most you can do on the option, but he's in on lap 18. That could be an inspired move.
Well, we'll see if that strategy plays out, won't we?
I said 18, lap 19 I mean. He's done 18 on his 19th lap now. He comes in. Müller rejoined 20th. We'll see where Wittmann slots in. Championship leader, crucial pit stop.
Absolutely. So the team go to work on Marco Wittmann's car. Oh, they did a great job. He didn't do such a brilliant job in terms of getting away. So where is Marco Wittmann going to field back in now?
He's behind Molina. He should be ahead of Müller because he was ahead anyway. He's ahead of da Costa. Okay.
So
that's going to put him in 13th place.
13th.
Yeah, 13th place for Wittmann. So he's kept track position over Müller as he should. He was ahead anyway.
So then we've seen two cars take relatively early pit stops.
There is something in the front of Tomczyk's car. That is Wehrlein getting ahead of Rockenfeller now, who is still losing out to Maxime Martin. But Martin will have to pit before Rockenfeller.
So your eagle eyes then have spotted something in that car of Tomczyk's. And as you say, is that going to cause a problem with overheating later in the race? Well, only time will tell.
I think he's going to get away with it because it's not affecting him too much now. And he's only got about 4 laps before he'll come in to go onto the hard tyre. They can point that out at the pit stop. He might lose a second maybe in that stop. It's on the left-hand side at the front. It's like a darker shape.
Yes, you're right.
So there's Rockenfeller. Let's just keep an eye on this gap. It's been going up steadily. He's now lost another position on the track to Pascal Wehrlein, so that's put Rockenfeller down into 10th place. And Wehrlein is charging as well, isn't he? The ex-Formula 3 star. The Audi mechanics are going to jump too in a moment because they're going to have a whole raft of cars to cycle through the pit window. Right, Rockenfeller now is 37.9 seconds behind Maxime Martin, and I think the second stint is going to be a good one because Martin has not been able to pull away enough to be really secure here. I was looking at something about the 52-second mark. Right. We've not got anywhere near that, and I don't think we will. We might get to mid-40s, so Rockenfeller in the second stint still has a chance, a good chance.
Okay. We're watching Martin then, who has just a shade under 9 seconds ahead of Bruno Spengler last time around. And you can see Maxime Martin then up this up this long haul towards turn 13, which takes us to the start-finish straight. And Bruno Spengler wasn't even in the shot. There is Bruno Spengler. Such is the advantage that Maxime Martin has been able to draw out over the 19 laps completed so far.
The gap Spengler to Tombe, second to third, is a rather elasticated one as well. Some laps Adrian Tombe is quicker, and then Spengler's able to retaliate as Hand and Scheider go through. Paffett trying to defend now from Muller, who has put himself onto the prime tyre, but they're fresher prime tyres. Gary Paffett is on an older set of primes. Standard tyre, that's Timo Scheider, number 2 Audi, running in 16th place. Really disappointing season for the double champion this 2014 year has been, and he's mired in traffic at the moment, looking for a way past the BMW of Joey Hand ahead of him. So I'm keeping an eye on this fight and another eye on the pit lane to see if anybody else is coming in. We've had those 2 early stoppers, Muller and Wittmann. We need to look at a Wittmann flying lap on this lap as well and see how he is stacking up relative to, for example, Rockenfeller, who is now, look, stuck in traffic. He's behind Wehrlein, but he's behind 2 soft-tyred cars and he's caught back up, which does suggest the softs are losing their benefit.
And I wonder whether that is a mix of the aggression and the pressure that they are being put through in terms of what we're doing. And there for the first time, we saw really clearly the debris on the right-hand side as you look at it of this BMW of Martin Tomczyk. There it is.
I think it's just some grass or some leaves, I hope anyway, something more sinister than that as the cars work their way then through this infield section. And Wehrlein is the man on a bit of a mission here, isn't he, now, to try and get 7th place away from the BMW driver. Dropping away is Rockenfeller, behind him 10th now is Mortara. And where's the best pit stopper? Wittmann, 13th. And he's not yet lapping as quickly as Martin, but he's not far away because Wittmann on the harder tyre did a 31.1 and Martin last time did a 31.0. So the edge is going away from those tyres.
And I wonder if it's the way that they have been treated over the first stint of this race, and also the track temperature here, because it is very hot in Moscow. So there is Tomczyk and Wehrlein. And this is going to be a real battle around here. There's a bit of nerfing and nudging between the two. Some dust kicked up there, and they're still side by side.
Wehrlein is the quicker, he's the stronger, and he's gone around the outside at turn 1. Brave stuff. Tomczyk was a bit robust in his defence, and Mike Rockenfeller has bought back into this, but Wehrlein now has got the jump, and it all started here at turn 13.
Now, Wehrlein was absolutely, totally committed, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he stayed with that commitment too. And that's where the first bit of panel rubbing came between the two of them, as Wehrlein was effectively pushed off there. But he kept his foot in and was not going to be put off.
Well, that's the Audi view on a battle that didn't really concern them. That was good for Hans Moser, looking at what was going on between BMW and Mercedes. Edo Mortara, in the meantime, has recovered pretty well from his dramas on the first lap, but of course it could have been oh so much better, and now he's hunting down Mike Rockenfeller, who is still leading. Don't forget that division of those on the harder tyre. Timo Glock versus Ekstrom. Ekstrom pits now at the end of his 22nd lap.
So from P4 for Matthias Ekstrom into the pits he comes. Be looking for a great stop from the team for Matthias Ekstrom.
Winner, of course, a week ago in the World Rallycross Championship for his own team, which only started at the beginning of this year. Perfect stop, 3.2 seconds. Man, machine and mechanics in perfect harmony, and he's not the only one in, because so is Wehrlein, Tomczyk and Mortara.
A whole queue of cars, as predicted, coming in right now. There's Mortara.
Now there is Matthias Ekstrom, who is ahead of Farfus, and therefore he stays ahead of Marco Wittmann. He has retained track position, and we've got a very slow Timo Scheider coming over the timing line. You'll see it in a moment, I'm sure, but that car may stop on the pit straight, and if it does, then that could be a whole different ball game, because it might need extricating from the tarmac. There it is. Timo Scheider has stopped up against the pit wall. It's offline, but this gives the race director now a very tough decision.
That's a problem, isn't it? We were saying here that there are not many places where we would think a safety car would be needed, but potentially there it is. Smoke coming out the front of that car.
Leader is in as well. Maxime Martin is coming in at the end of lap 23. Which is the furthest you can go on the option tyre. In he comes then. Maxime Martin is in. And so now we need to see not only what the race director does about that stranded car, but also how this pit stop is. Spengler comes in as well, and all those on the soft will come pouring down the pit lane now.
So from our vantage point here, the Timo Scheider car is still up against the pit wall. It's not somewhere they can extricate. They're opening the gates. But of course, whilst the pit lane is so very busy, they can't get the car.
Safety car. We go safety car, and now this throws everything up into the air, doesn't it? Those that have just gone from the hard onto the soft have a very good chance, because all the gaps disappear. So there, Christian Vittoris comes in, but the safety car is deployed. And of course, if you're not in the pits, then you shouldn't be making the pit stop if the safety car is on track. So the pit window is going to be extended because of this safety car period. So I'll give the order at the end of this lap, but this now throws everything up into the air. The safety car has collected Bruno Spengler, and I don't think it wanted to. I think it wanted Maxime Martin, so that's going to take a little bit of sorting out as well.
So whilst all that was going on, and we looked there at the pit perch and the radio traffic going on, basically the marshals were out on track. As soon as the safety car had been deployed, a gate has been opened in the pit lane to push the Timo Scheider car through, but inevitably they couldn't do that whilst there were so many cars in the pit lane at that point, as we look at Mike Rockenfeller here, and therefore safety car had to be deployed.
The safety car is currently at turn 10, and Maxime Martin is about to come into turn 13. So this is going to take an awful lot of sorting out. Really, I think what the safety car will have to do is let everybody go and then wait to catch up, or wait to have Maxime Martin catch it.
Well, we'll see if that happens. Now, there is the gate that has been opened that I've been talking about, right in the middle of the start-finish straight here, and they get the stricken Scheider car, which had smoke coming from one of the coolers at the front. Now, they were out, the marshals out, just as soon as the safety car was deployed. The car was parked up, and there is, well, Timo Scheider, what an awful season he is having. Clearly a problem with the Timo Scheider car, and he inevitably had to park it where he had to park it. But what it has done, David, is really thrown the dice.
Absolutely so. Marco Wittmann is going to become the best place of those on the hard tyres as we look at this replay of Robert Wickens being muscled aside by Scheider.
Well, and the thing is that Scheider lost. We saw in that replay that Scheider lost. Looked like one of the fins, but perhaps it was more than that. If we look at Scheider's car now, there is Timo Scheider. But whatever, it caused Scheider a problem, which meant the car was no more. So safety car still out. And where are we at in terms of that safety car and Maxime Martin?
Safety car is letting them go past.
Right.
There it is, look. The lights flash to say you can go through, and it will back off and collect Maxime Martin. Now, while the safety car has been out, nobody else has been able to make their pit stops. So Mike Rockenfeller has yet to take his. What this means is that when he does serve the pit stop, he will go on to the softer tyre, he will go on to the quicker tyre, but more cars will get past him because everybody is bunched up. He will lose more places by having to pit after a safety car period. Now, the flip side of that coin is that there are shorter gaps between them. So he'll be able to, in theory, get past more cars quicker because he's not hunting down 5 or 6 seconds of a gap because the gaps won't open up. But trouble is, he's got more traffic to get past. It's going to be a fascinating second stint.
He has still got to carve his way through it, hasn't he?
Good this.
Whoa, very. What a race. What a race.
And it's building up nicely. That's just your first sort of taster of what it's going to be like. Timo Scheider's car being pushed away and the rest of the field coming through at a pace acceptable to the race director in order for them to catch up to Maxime Martin and the safety car. Race directors groan when they need to put out a safety car, and when it's during a pit stop window and the order is shuffling quicker than somebody with a pack of cards, then it is even more of a groan. I do sympathise with the race director because it's the worst possible time to have to deploy the safety car. If you don't get it right, you look silly, and it then does take a bit of unravelling, but the unravelling is being done very effectively.
In truth, he had no alternative.
I don't think so. I think you're right. Well, Timo Scheider is the man who's out. Safety car because of his car in a dangerous place. What happened, Timo? He's going to tell Verena.
Yes, that's what we're going to find out. Timo, there was smoke in the front of your car coming out. What was the problem? What happened? Did it have to do with incidents with weekends?
Well, it was at a certain point braking to the last hairpin, just no engine power left. So I don't know what happened exactly, so we have to check the car, but suddenly the engine switched off and I had to stop the car.
Thank you very much, Timo. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. But yeah, bad news for Timo Scheider. Safety car stays out. The incident long dealt with, but now you can see that everybody is in formation. So Martin, Spengler, Tombe are still running first, second and third. They've all made their pit stop, so they are now on to the harder tyre. Mike Rockenfeller is the leading driver on hard tyres who has not made a pit stop, but will have to do so to go onto the softs. So he's going to tumble down the order, but will then have a quicker tyre to work his way, elbows out through the order. The same is true of Augusto Farfus, who has been running in 6th place now, behind Matthews Ekstrom. He's been brought back into the game here. Sorry, 7th. I'd ignored Timo Glock for a moment. Glock is 5th, then Ekstrom, then Farfus. So he's back into the game as well. So it's going to be really a case of seeing how quickly Rockenfeller and Farfus, when they change onto the softer tyre in the second stint, get their way up the order. Then you've got the second battle between Martin, Spengler, Tombe and Wittmann working his way up the order, now on to the harder tyre in the second stint, and how their battle is going to pan out, whether they'll keep track position or whether they will shuffle. So lots to look for when we go back racing again, and we are now on lap 27 out of 48. Now, carrying on with all of this, you might find slightly Anaraki strategy. It's all very well me talking about Mike Rockenfeller about to go onto a quicker tyre and the fact that he's going to be able to get through the traffic, but there's more traffic, but the gaps are smaller. But he's going to have fewer laps in which to do it. Absolutely. Because this safety car period is eating into the time available to him to change tyres and then do the overtaking.
And yes, you're right. Carving through that is not going to be easy. Safety car is coming in this lap. We will resume. Now, the battle is really going to be on. And the second, well, we always knew and always thought that the second stint in this race was going to be quite exciting and enjoyable to watch. All of a sudden now, that safety car really has, well, it's added still further to the drama. The pit stop window increased now to lap 37. Now, there you can see Martin and Bruno Spengler. Martin, who had done an awesome job in terms of building up the gap to Bruno Spengler. However, in the calculations you'd made, he hadn't quite, well, it wasn't quite, he hadn't got the margin that he needed, had he?
Yeah, my calculations and the litter bin have just become very firm friends because one accommodates the other now. Mike Rockenfeller was, the last lap I checked all of this before it got Larry, 41.2 seconds back. He's now 2.4 seconds back because of pit stops and the safety car. I think Rockenfeller's going to win this.
Well,
we'll see.
We will see.
We'll see, but I think he's going to be well placed to do it if he gets this tyre stop out of the way without losing too much time, he will probably be able to come in at the end of the next lap, which is the first green flag lap after the safety car period. So, how much time will he lose on this lap, okay? Go over the timing line now. Rockenfeller is 1 second behind Maxime Martin as they've all bunched up.
So let's go back green again as the safety car is back in, and we're back on with racing here at the Moscow Raceway. Safety car deployed.
Rockenfeller has hit Tombe.
Oh, what a nightmare. Well, that has just thrown even more of your paper into the bin, and Rocky's got a real problem there. The car is not going to continue. Look at that.
The Audis have self-destructed. Rockenfeller went for a gap coming out of turn 1, and I'm afraid that he and Tombe touched as Tombe spun. He hit the side of Rockenfeller, and so now that is going to put the race between Timo Glock and Matthias Ekstrom as the leading two that are now on the harder tyre. They are now up into 3rd and 4th places. Farfus is the leading driver on an older set of hard tyres. We need to see what he's going to do, and the safety car comes out yet again, and that throws everything back up into the air because they still can't stop because the safety car is on track.
This
Wow.
is extraordinary. There is Mike Rockenfeller, who will be, well, beside himself with disappointment as the safety car is deployed once again. Literally, we didn't even get a completed lap from it going in from the last one.
I didn't get a chance to say it, but there is a line I pedal, which is safety cars breed safety cars, and Mike Rockenfeller managed to get the door off its hinges. That'll do it good. But this is it. There's the big contact you see. As Tombe spun, he clipped Rockenfeller going around the outside, and that's what's really done. It's done the bodywork, but it's done the suspension. Farfus saw it thus, and it just about kicked off, but it was two of them going for the same bit of tarmac, and that's the impact there.
I have to say, just looking from that replay, it looked like Farfus was into Tombe. No, sorry, not Farfus.
Rockenfeller, yeah.
Rockenfeller.
I'd like another look at it, but
it did look like Rockenfeller was into Tombe. Hopefully we'll see it again.
So Ernst Moser of the Phoenix team, very unimpressed by that. So are the engineers, who were ready to receive their car, and instead they get a safety car period. Mike Rockenfeller is very, very angry about that. Did Tombe survive? No, he didn't. He stopped out on the track as well. So it's two cars that need retrieving. But Rockenfeller, I still maintain, was in the box seat for that win, and it's gone begging. Whether it was his fault, whether it was Tombe's, we'll have another replay, no doubt. We'll probably hear from the drivers as well, and we'll get more information. But Rockenfeller is absolutely distraught. This is the one that got away.
Yes. Yes.
And he knows it. And it's little consolation, but Rockenfeller is beside himself. You can see that applause from the fans who appreciated a good drive is little consolation. Mike Rockenfeller is out. The winner here last year, I'm afraid, ends up with a damaged car, and he'll go and have a word with Adrian Tombe as well. We'll have another look at it, no doubt, in a few moments' time and try and piece together who did what to which and to whom. But it did look a little bit as though Rockenfeller might have been a bit ambitious. Well, we'll see. It was hard to tell in the pack, and that onboard from Farfus was a little bit non-committal as well.
May I say, I wonder whether that's why he's looking so despondent,
because he knows it was his fault. Very possibly, very possibly.
It is only a guess on our part at the moment, but certainly from the replay element that I saw.
Well, it's under investigation, the Rockenfeller-Tombe accident, but investigate as you will. It's not going to, apart from a grid penalty maybe for the next race, it was one of those things. It wasn't deliberate, was it? Two Audi drivers tangle, so the stewards can have a good look at it and maybe apportion blame. Let's have another look from on board with Farfus. Right, Rockenfeller up the road. The wiper's in the way. He goes, he locks up and tags the back of Tombe. I think that was Rocky's error. I agree with you. We are hearing that over the radio, Mike Rockenfeller has said to the team that it was his fault, and it was because the brakes weren't up to temperature. He gave them a big old squeeze to try and slow down the car, and he went into the back. But yeah, having looked at that replay and with the information we gained from the pit lane, you were spot on, Dave Richardson. It was a Mike Rockenfeller-induced drama. Write it in your diary, because they don't come very often.
And that's why he is so, and he'll really be feeling for Tombe as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's not only mucked up his own chances, but also those of Tombe too. Okay.
And different teams, but it's the Audi brand. Course. It's the Audi brand, and so, you know, he will have some explaining to do back at base to the hierarchy as well.
Now, talking of explaining, Verena is down there with Ernst Moser.
Yes, I am. What a catastrophe we just saw between Tombe and Rocky. What was the problem? Were Rocky's suspensions not warm enough, or what exactly was the problem? How do you explain it?
I don't know why he had an accident for the restart. I think he wasn't really concentrated because he was for the safety car and at the pit stops. He always asked what happened, where we are, and I think this was the main reason. I think the tire was warm, so we will see what happened after.
Yeah, it was working out really, really well for Rocky. After all, he won here last year, and we just saw him lying on the floor, absolutely devastated. I guess that is absolutely understandable.
Yeah, the first half of the race was really good. We are really in the pace, and the strategy looks fine. And I think if we can do the second half with option tire, we are really in a really good position on the podium. So that's it now. We have 0 points, and let's see what happens in the next race.
Thank you very much. Very disappointed, of course. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. Ernst Moser then tells it the way it is. There's Mike Rockenfeller back into the car. I was going to say before we went to Verena, with regards to explanations, I'm really rather disappointed that the paper and pad and pen hasn't come out once again, because you're going to have to go for take 3 now on what's going to happen in the second stint of this race.
Or third stint, effectively. I'm kind of waiting, Dave, really, to see how many racing laps we're going to have, because we've still got these cars that need retrieving. And the last thought I had, I haven't committed this yet to numbers, but we were seeing people pitting early on the option tyre because it was a tyre losing its edge. We're going to get to a situation where we have got less than 18 laps of racing. So that option tyre, when you do go onto it, is going to be good to go to the end, and it will still have good life left at the end of the race. And I think that's the gift that keeps on giving, if you like, the tyre that will keep its life. And so when we finally get to that point, and who are we looking at, really? We're going to be looking at Farfus as the best placed. Let's see what he can do. He's going to end up with a lot of traffic to get past, and admittedly, he didn't have the quickest car in qualifying. He lined up 6th on the grid, but his progress is going to be very, very interesting indeed, especially given that the tyre should, despite the heat, have the right number of laps left to help him get to the end.
Well, we will see as the drama plays out here at Moscow Raceway. It is DTM, halfway stage of the racing season. Mike Rockenfeller, of course, looking very, very good, and he was P4 in the points going into this halfway stage here at the Moscow Raceway, and as we've heard from Ernst Moser and Verena, and also for our own communications here in comms as well, Mike has held his hands up and said, all down to me.
Guilty as charged, and as I say, it doesn't happen very often, but if the brake pedal wasn't pumped and therefore there wasn't as much pressure there as he thought, and he locked up and just clipped the back of Adrian Tombe, that wouldn't have been a massive drama. It was the spin and the fact that Tombe came back and clobbered Mike Rockenfeller that was the problem. We're going to have at least one more lap behind the safety car. Just looking out of the window to see how the recovery operation is going on. Can't see the cars anymore from our natural view rather than the pictures, so I think we're getting there. And as the drivers head over the timing line now, Farfus sitting in 5th position, so he is one man to keep an eye to when we go back to racing, partly because he's got to make the stop and then he's got to work his way through a whole heap of traffic. I mean, it could dump him down, not quite to last, because there are others that will have to pit on the same lap, but he's going to drop down a long, long way. Well, let's hear Adrian Tombe's take on life. He is with Verena.
Yeah, and he looks absolutely devastated, of course. The race ended for you. Rocky hit your car. It certainly wasn't your fault. Nothing you could do. I guess you're absolutely devastated.
Yeah, I mean, it's again an opportunity that we miss. It starts to be a bit of a pity because we are always in the front and always battling for top places, and actually starts to be a bit too much. But this time, I mean, it's human mistake, and I will speak with Rocky after. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna turn the page quickly, because at the end of the day, it's just a driver mistake, and I've done in the past as well. So. Yeah, just very disappointed because we could have been on the podium today.
And I guess it hurts especially because it was another team member, it was an Audi.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen. I mean, the 4 rings, you want the whole cars to finish and not collide together. And this is our goal to everyone. But, shit happens.
Shit happens. Thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Well, apologies for that, but you can understand how Adrian Tombe feels. But what I will say is it's a measure of both Adrian Tombe and Mike Rockenfeller, isn't it, in terms of their attitude straight after?
Yeah, and Adrian Tombe may not yet be a DTM race winner, but you can see why Audi want him, because he's a good ambassador. He says the right things. He accepts that it wasn't his fault. He accepts that he was taken out, but he's not blaming. He's not pointing the finger. He accepts it. Life will continue. You can have a look. They'll talk about it. He and Mike Rockenfeller, who will be, as we've already established, very, very disappointed with his own race, never mind Adrian Tombe's. And for Audi, we move on. And there's no blame, there's no shouting and screaming, and that's exactly what a team such as Audi collectively needs. The safety car continues, and we are now down to 16 laps of racing here. I reckon that when Farfus pits, he will rejoin in 11th place. He, remember, is the best of those that has not yet made his stop to go on to a second set of tyres. He'll go on to the option which is quicker, so he'll have the speed, but he will have to get his way through 10 other cars.
Safety car is coming in this lap. The pit stop window has been increased to lap 42. So that's the second time it's been increased, because earlier, of course, it was increased to lap 37. Then the safety car was out once again because of the Tombe Rockenfeller incident. So what have we got?
Well, they can't pit at the end of this lap. It has to be the first green flag lap. So this is lap 33. It'll be the end of lap 34. So it's going to give Farfus 14 laps of racing on the soft tyre. And if he rejoins, as I think he will, in 11th place, I think he's going to win it.
Well, we are about to find out. The lights go out in the safety car, and the safety car will be in this lap. Maxime Martin, who has led from the off. Bruno Spengler and Timo Glock behind. Then it's Ekstrom, and then the man that we are talking about just comes into shot there in the green and blue Castrol Edge car of Augusto Farfus. Maxime Martin we look at, though, right now. Safety car symbol still at the top of your screen, but the safety car is coming in this lap. And some news on with regards to tyres.
Maximum laps option tyres increased to lap 38. Not sure that they'll necessarily need to do that, because all those that started on the option, I think I'm right in saying, have now changed because they had to go to 23, so they've done that. So I don't think that's actually going to matter terribly much. What's interesting as well, I keep banging on about Farfus as we're about to go racing. Just keep an eye on that red Audi behind, because that is Miguel Molina, who is in the same situation. He started on the hard tyre, and he will go onto the soft as well. So it's going to be a battle between Farfus and Molina runs wide and loses time straight away.
Okay, we're back and racing then for the second time of asking. Following a safety car period, the race being led by Maxime Martin, then it's Bruno Spengler, then it's Timo Glock, Matthias Ekstrom, then is P4, then it's Augusto Farfus. Molina then is behind him with Marco Wittmann, the championship leader, going into this Moscow race in P7.
Spengler defending from Glock. Martin's trying to get away, and Ekstrom now is the pioneer for Audi, because he's got to try and work his way into this BMW battle. And now Timo Glock is doing the team thing. He's holding up the Audi and letting Spengler and Martin get away, and Ekstrom is really going to have to use all of his guile to find a way past, because Timo Glock is going to sacrifice himself now to keep at bay the Audi. Ekstrom looking quick and wanting to make progress. Farfus has got Molina behind him. Now Wittmann is attacking Miguel Molina. That's good for Farfus. Marco Wittmann on a new set of hards is battling with Molina, who's on an old set of hard tyres, and Molina is having to go defensive, but Farfus needs to come out of the pits ahead of that red Audi.
Well, we will see if at the end of this green lap they would be allowed to pit. There is Maxime Martin then, heads up now towards turn 13. Maxime Martin leads from Bruno Spengler, P2. Then it's the Deutsche Post colours of Timo Glock. Then it's Matthias Ekstrom. Then it is Augusto Farfus. Let's see what happens.
Is he going to peel off this time? He doesn't, and that surprises me. I would have thought he'd have come in as quick as he could to go onto the softer tyre, so he's losing touch a little bit now as they come over the line.
Christian Vittori is taking a look at Antonio Felix da Costa. They're side by side as they head down towards turn 1, and Christian Vittori has done it.
Okay, Vittori through on the inside, gains the place. And there is the rejuvenated Nico Müller now on the back of the Red Bull BMW as well. Martin is 7/10 up on Spengler. Müller to the inside of da Costa, but the BMW hangs onto the place.
So Christian Vittori has gone through. You can see there Antonio Felix da Costa. There is Christian Vittori. So Antonio Felix da Costa with Nico Müller right behind Here, though, is our race leader, Maxime Martin. P1, P2, Bruno Spengler. P3 is Timo Glock.
Molina still defending from Wittmann, which is enabling Farfus to get away, but each lap that he stays out, he's losing touch, and now you can see that the team is ready. This is the RBM Racing Butt Mampe squad getting ready to descend on the BMW of Augusto Farfus, who is the cork in the bottle at the moment, stacking everybody up behind him. So he should come in this time, one would have thought. The team ready. Miguel Molina's mechanics are ready for him as well. So here they come. Out of turn 12. We expect the BMW and the Audi to peel off to the left and head to pit in. That's going to release Wittmann from the traffic. And Farfus comes then into the pit lane right now. Molina comes in. Da Costa will come in as well. And this now will clear those that started on the hard tyres. This gang are going on to the options, and these are the quick people to watch now.
So in comes Augusto Farfus. Peeling off there, Molina.
You've got Farfus, Molina, Da Costa, Wickens, and there's Juncadella into the pit lane, and these are the 5 you can anticipate to make some progress now in the remaining laps of the race. But is there enough time, as Molina is going to get not quite ahead of Farfus. Farfus keeps track position. That's absolutely crucial to him.
And that was a close run thing, wasn't it?
It was rather. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of empty track space between them. Them being Farfus there, who has just changed onto the softs, and Maxime Martin, the race leader. So let's have a look this time around and see what the gap is going to be and whether there's enough time left for Farfus to do it.
So we go on board with Augusto Farfus as he absolutely pounds this car around the 3.9 kilometre Moscow Raceway here. Pit stop done at long last following 2 safety car periods. There is our race leader, Maxime Martin, who has opened up a gap of 1.2 seconds over P2, Bruno Spengler. Then it is Timo Glock in P3, then Matthias Ekström P4 before we get back to the championship leader. There he is, Marco Wittmann P5.
And others now, Joey Hand, Gary Paffett, and there's going to be one other that needs to make a stop as well, come in this time, so that makes life a little bit easier for Farfus. Vitaly Petrov, yes, we hardly mentioned him in the race, the hometown hero, that Petrov now makes the stop. Molina has just done the best of anybody in the middle sector now that he's gone onto the softer tyre. He's got the pace, Paffett is in then, as you can see, so it's going to be at the end of this lap, we need to look at the gap between Maxime Martin, who has gone through, and Augusto Farfus, who goes through. It's 27.9 seconds.
27.9 seconds.
You keep talking, my calculator is about to make an appearance.
As we see Vitaly Petrov then leave the pit lane, he the last of those to dive in. There's home race here at the Moscow Raceway. Vitaly Petrov screams out of the pit lane. There is our race leader, Maxime Martin. Bruno Spengler, P2. Glock is P3, then the hard-charging Matthias Ekström is P4 with the championship leader Marco Wittmann back some distance in P5. So, 1.8 seconds last time around Martin had over Bruno Spengler, who we see there. In turn, a full second back before we get to Timo Glock in P3. Into turn 13 they go. DRS enabled, and there is the charging now on the yellow-tired Augusto Farfus and Miguel Molina. Can they do it?
Okay, Farfus needs to be lapping at least 2.4 seconds a lap quicker than Maxime Martin, and that doesn't even allow for traffic. It's going to be tight, this. It's going to be very, very tight indeed. But he might be helped by other battles going on around him. Martin is still looking strong as Muller sorts out Vitoris there. That is a battle for 6th place, and Nico Muller goes ahead. Audi goes ahead of Mercedes. Now Farfus was 27.9 seconds back already. He's brought the gap down to 25.7, so he's having a good go at this, and it's going okay for him, but it all depends how fast he can get through the traffic. When he gets up to a BMW, life should be easier. When he gets to an Audi or a Mercedes, it becomes a different kettle of cod altogether.
Yes. So there you can see the difference between Martin and this man, Augusto Farfus. So in the BMW then, on a charge now, Augusto Farfus. Also on a charge is Molina. We go on board with Augusto Farfus now from Team RBM with the softer tyres on for the remainder of this race. Just 10 laps left to run. Maxime Martin, been faultless in his drive, was faultless in qualifying that gave him pole position, and has conducted himself so very well, and once again has eked out and opened up a gap of 2.2 seconds over Bruno Spengler in P2.
But Farfus is there, coming down to turn 13. He's got Molina behind him, and as they turn into turn 13, Molina did the best of anybody in the first sector, but he lost out against Farfus in the middle sector of the lap. Last time the gap was 25.7, it's 24.1, so 1.6 seconds gain. That is not enough, not enough. Now don't forget, Farfus never had the fastest car in qualifying anyway. Maxime Martin did, but the softer tyre should now be helping him. So here, I just wonder whether Farfus is a bit distracted by looking at an Audi on a comparable pace behind him. Martin is still looking strong, but Farfus now starting to work his way back into contention. 10 laps left.
So Maxime Martin then in the Samsung liveried car, as we see Jens Marquardt then, the director of BMW Motorsport, from his pit perch position, watching this unfold. How big a deal would this be for Maxime Martin to take that checkered flag and convert that brilliant qualifying pole position into a win?
We talk about Farfus having to think about Miguel Molina behind him. Behind Molina is Antonio Felix da Costa, who has done exactly the same thing, started on the hards, now on the softs. If he starts battling with the Audi, that's going to help Farfus. It'll take some of the pressure off. The leader has gone by. 39 laps are in the book. Martin is leading Spengler by 2.4 seconds. Glock third, Ekstrom fourth, and fading a bit. He's not able, is he now, to stay with Timo Glock as they work their way out of turn 1 up to turn 2. Farfus is about to come up towards the timing line. His next target is going to be Martin Tomczyk, and Farfus, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Goes over the timing line now, 22 seconds. He's taken 2.1 seconds out on that lap. That is more like it, but it's still not quite enough. Especially as he's got Molina riding shotgun.
Yes.
And Da Costa is not near enough, actually, to start to attack the Audi and therefore relieve Farfus of the pressure. So this is not helping Augusto Farfus one little bit. He's really got to storm on now. He out-qualified Molina, but Molina's race pace on these soft tyres is comparable.
There is Augusto Farfus then with so much work to do between now and the end of this race, which is just 9 laps away. A race that has delivered so much drama. 2 safety cars. Never would we have even bet on a safety car appearing, let alone 2, barely 1 lap apart. There is our race leader, Maxime Martin. Last time around, he'd opened up the gap to 2.4 seconds over Bruno Spengler. And you can see Bruno Spengler there, but this is our race leader, Maxime Martin. Super successful GT racer into DTM, crosses the timing line now, as does Bruno Spengler. And it's another 5/10 that he's able to add to that margin between himself and Bruno Spengler.
A replay here of the fast pit stops. Martin Tomczyk's being the fastest. That time is pit in to pit out, as well as the stop itself. And Farfus has gone across the line. The gap is down to 20.3, so he has now taken a further 1.7 seconds out, but it's not enough. I think I said it had to be 2.4 or more. It's a good effort, this, but he's still not doing the reduction of the gap by the big chunks that he needs, and of course he's still yet to really get involved in the traffic.
So as we look at the fastest pit stops, then the table that was up on your screen on the left-hand side, teams work incredibly hard. They train, they practice this, and we see them practicing in the pit lane on a DTM weekend. It is really taken so very seriously, and of course it's an integral part of the driver and what he's able to achieve.
Now we've got the race leader Maxime Martin coming down towards turn 13. A DTM race has a maximum time of 70 minutes, and we've got 7.5 of those 70 minutes remaining, and that means that it's not going to go to 48 laps, as there, Tomczyk has been passed by Farfus and is now defending from Molina. That's good news. That allows Farfus to escape, but there is now not enough time left in the race for Farfus to go for the win. It's going to go to time. Molina is ahead of Tomczyk now. It's going to go to time, not laps. And so that, although Farfus is gaining places, is going to give Maxime Martin his first DTM win.
Well, very soon the lap counter at the top of your screen will change, because we have 7 minutes remaining in this race. Just 7 minutes to remain. Here is the replay. Then Augusto Farfus with very little problem getting past Tomczyk there.
I mean, that's partly because it's a BMW passing a BMW, but really it shows the difference between the soft and the hard tyre, and the soft tyre working better, and he had the drive out of the corner and through he went. So Augusto Farfus now is into 10th place, and the next target is 4 seconds up the road, in fact, Edo Mortara. So he's got some work to do, and ultimately the clock is going to defeat him.
Yes, less than 6.5 minutes left to run in this race, which could be history-making, couldn't it? This DTM event at the Moscow Raceway. Second time that the DTM has been to this track in Russia, this time using the longer 3.9 kilometer version of this superb circuit here in the sunshine. Maxime Martin, our leader, with a 3.6 margin over Bruno Spengler, we see there in second place. Then it is Timo Glock, then Matthias Ekström. There is Spengler, Glock and Ekström. Our championship leader, Marco Wittmann, is P5.
And there's Farfus. He's getting onto the back of Mortara over the timing line. That gap is down to 1 second. He's 18.4 seconds off Maxime Martin, but he's only really now got 5.5 minutes, which is going to be about 4 laps, if that, to do it. So, as I say, the clock is going to defeat him, but it's been a valiant effort, and he will gain some places. I suppose the target now really is whether he might get onto the podium.
I think it's a big ask, but we will see.
I agree.
So here is Farfus then. He is the man that is absolutely on the charge, but as you've said, the clock is most likely going to defeat and certainly suppress what he can achieve. And there you can see at the top of your screen, it's changed from laps down to less than 5 minutes to run in this race.
And now, of course, you see the other problem, which is working through non-BMW traffic, and Mortara is doing what he has to do, which is defend his 9th place perfectly fairly. Farfus should get past him on the run down to turn 13, but because Mortara has stacked up Farfus, that's brought Molina back into the game as well. So Farfus here is trying to attack and defend at the same time. This is now a very difficult situation for him.
Okay, so this is where it's going to happen then, the run up to turn 13. We're on board with Augusto Farfus.
Can't do it on the outside. He needs to try and get underneath coming over the timing line.
Ain't gonna do it.
He's got to do it at turn 1. He should have the drive out of the corner, and if he can make the move on the inside for the first corner, he thinks about it, but no, not able to have a go there. Right, this has ruined it for Farfus now. He's stuck. He's been stuck there for half a lap. Da Costa fighting back against Molina, but Farfus, I'm afraid, by a combination of when the safety car came out and by traffic now, he's not going to score a podium, and he's going to be really fighting to find a way past Mortara.
But he is fighting and trying to find a way, but now Molina is coming into it. They touch, and there's some of the bodywork has gone off there, a couple of the fins.
Came off the Audi, so the bite a bit. Molina made the move, and it was his car that suffered the damage. Da Costa is all over him like a rash as well now, but Farfus dropping away because he's got to defend, so I'm afraid even a top 6 result is looking as though it's going to disappear. We might squeeze 2 more laps out of the race. Clock ticking away. Molina goes for the inside. Farfus defends, but by having to defend like this, so of course Mortara is getting away, and Farfus has got a problem. I think he just does not have the pace anymore. Maybe he suffered in that little clash with Molina, but look how Mortara has got away, and now Da Costa up the inside. That's what BMW needs. Has he gone through? Yes. And he hangs Molina out to dry. 1 BMW upper place, and now Da Costa, I would expect, will let Farfus get away.
Wow.
Now this is Ekstrom, who's got third against Glock, and Wittmann on a quicker car gets past Glock as well. That I think was team orchestrated. But to do that, what they have done is had to let Ekstrom get by as well. So this is your battle for third place. It is Ekstrom versus Wittmann. Timo Glock has let them go in a quicker car. Ideally, of course, it was only Wittmann he wanted to get through, but Ekstrom seized his chance. Can Wittmann capitalise on Glock's generosity? Here it was.
So you can see here, that's how Ekstrom, well, to be fair, Ekstrom was through, wasn't he? Here is Marco Wittmann. But at this stage, we're seeing in replay. So now Ekstrom, well, Marco Wittmann has got to try, with just 2 minutes remaining.
You're right in saying that Ekstrom had got through on the inside, but that replay didn't explain where all the time had been lost, because we'd already seen the fact that Ekstrom on that second restart had fallen away. So I still think that Glock, because he had a slightly slower car, was being encouraged to let Wittmann by. The trouble was that, of course, in order to let Wittmann catch up, Ekstrom had to be there anyway.
Yes.
And so he seized the opportunity, and you can see why BMW is keen for Wittmann as the championship leader to gain as many places, because he's got a car that looks quicker than the Audi. In the background, Muller comes up to have a go at Glock now as well, and he has gone past. So Nico Muller, who remember pitted early to go onto the harder tyre, is up into 5th place. It is Martin Spengler, Ekstrom, Wittmann. 5th now is Muller, 6th is Glock, 7th over the line is Vitoris, 8th is Wehrlein, and in 9th place it is Mortara, still fending off a frustrated Farfus.
So this is the last lap as Antonio Felix da Costa and Molina get together. My goodness me. Last lap of the race. And, well, Maxime Martin out on his own. Look at that, 4.5 seconds he's got as comfort over Bruno Spengler in P2. Then it is Matthias Ekstrom. Then it is Marco Wittmann. Can Wittmann do anything about Ekstrom and land that final podium place, which would be great news for BMW and great news for his championship lead as well? I'm not sure. I don't think he can do it. I think Eki is heading for the 3rd step of the podium.
And 3rd place from 11th on the grid, which goes to show you can never underestimate double champion Matthias Ekstrom. But Maxime Martin has absolutely starred this weekend. The checkered flag is just around the corner. He's never raced here before. First pole position, his first DTM win is coming his way.
So Maxime Martin then heads towards the checkered flag to make history in the DTM. And what a weekend the Belgian has had as he takes the checkered flag. Maxime Martin takes the win. Here comes Bruno Spengler to take P2. And P3 surely is going to go the way of Matthias Ekstrom. Valiant effort from Marco Wittmann. There was just 1/10 between them as Wittmann takes P4. Nico Moller, P5. Then it's Timo Glock, Christian Vitoris, Pascal Wehrlein and Augusto Farfus having a go right towards the very end as well. What a race.
Farfus gets 10th in the end, but I'm afraid all the calculations were right in terms of what he could do, but he wasn't able to match the lap times. He wasn't being able to close quickly enough, and then he got stuck in traffic and he wasn't able to work his way through. Well, it's turned out to be a decent race for sure. Drama all the way through. This was the last couple of corners with the DRS enabled. Farfus on the outside of Mortara, but he never had the true car speed, did he? Even on the softer tyre. Farfus, who qualified 6th, just for whatever reason didn't seem to have a car that was capable of doing the lap times he needed to be doing.
Absolutely extraordinary race that we have just enjoyed. And alongside me, I've never seen a man work through so many strategies and so many pieces of paper during the course of the races. Those safety cars really threw everything out, didn't they? And just proved the point that when it comes to racing, nothing in DTM can ever be taken for granted.
I still think that was the race that got away from Mike Rockenfeller, but having seen Farfus on that second stint and the way that he was struggling, I know it's a different car, different driver, and Rockenfeller had been quicker anyway, but it wasn't going to be a shoe-in. But I still think that Rockenfeller would have been for the podium, if not the race winner, but it was looking so good for him. But for BMW, it ends as a 1-2-4. Jens Marquardt we'll hear from in a moment, I'm sure. A very happy man with Maxime Martin taking victory. So yeah, Jens Marquardt is now with Verena.
Mr. Marquardt, congratulations. 1, 2, 4, and 6. Absolutely amazing. What do you say about your young Belgian man?
Well, I'm really impressed. I'm deeply impressed. I mean, this weekend has been really special here for him, and he just didn't do anything wrong. And just like Marco did a few times this year, looks like those young guys, they just don't have any nerves at all. They just drive away and that's it. And I'm really impressed. But Bruno behind did a great job. Sorry for Timo. He fought hard, but had a bit of a problem at the end technically. And yeah, but Marco was there, so scored big points for BMW, which was important to do here. And really a great show for the fans as well. So very good race.
So you're enjoying a double victory?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. And Jens Marquardt then, very, very happy man indeed. And what he said there is absolutely right. What a race that's been delivered for the fans and for us as well. Okay, confirmation then. Maxime Martin takes the win from Bruno Spengler, Matthias Ekstrom P3. Marco Wittmann then championship leader P4. Nico Muller, Timo Glock, Christian Vitoris. Then it's Verline Mortara, Augusto Farfus P10, Antonio Felix da Costa, then Miguel Molina. With then Tomczyk, Wickens, Juncadella, Paffett, Joey Hand, Vitaly Petrov out, of course, Tombe, Rockenfeller, Scheider, De Resta and Jamie Green.
So Maxime Martin is the first ever Belgian to win a race in the DTM. He was the second Belgian to have a pole position after Eric van der Poel. Eric van der Poel is a DTM champion, but never won a race, believe it or not, when he was racing a BMW M3. There's a BMW connection, of course. And Maxime Martin, who for so long has been one of the real stars of international GT racing, given his opportunity to come to the DTM this year, and at the halfway point of the season is a winner. And he may have had a race or two to get used to this type of car, but now he has delivered. Bravo les Belges, because Maxime Martin it is who scores victory. He's never raced here before either, but you wouldn't think it, would you? He has performed like a DTM and indeed Moscow Raceway veteran.
And he is enjoying that victory and entitled to do so as well. Of course, arguably did all the hard work yesterday in qualifying, and then, you know, just had delivered a supreme margin over Bruno Spengler in P2. So a fantastic job that Maxime Martin has done. And if we think we're hot up here in our commentary booth, you've only got to look at the overalls of our racing drivers as well, and Bruno Spengler there. Wow, been so hot and been such a dramatic race.
Well, Maxime Martin, a real hero for the reasons we mentioned. That first victory for him, and indeed the first Belgian to win a race within the DTM. But other stars I would offer you, Matthias Ekstrom getting himself up to third place. And if you have a look further back from those that qualified badly, Martin Tomczyk got himself up to 13th in the end, which was a valiant effort. But for the championship, Marco Wittmann for BMW now 20 points ahead of Matthias Ekstrom, who's just 9 ahead of Bruno Spengler. And Wittmann coming home in 4th, good for the championship.
So Ekstrom up to P2 in the points now, was P3 going into this race. And, well, the 20-point margin that Marco Wittmann has, we're at the halfway stage of the season with the completion of this race here at the Moscow Raceway, and Marco Wittmann leading the championship, but the race win, and a supreme race win from this man as he crossed the timing line and took the checkered flag. Maxime Martin, what a star you are.
Augusto Farfus, though, a little disappointing in that second stint because the pace just was not there. Now, whether there was something not quite right with the car from early on, we'll have to find out post-race, but he wasn't able to hack into the deficit as rapidly as anticipated. I know he didn't have that many laps in which to do it, but even with another 2, he would have struggled because he was still 21 seconds back at the end. Let's hear from the third place man, Matthias Ekstrom.
Yes, here's a man who fought like crazy, Matthias Ekstrom. Congratulations for your third place.
Thank you very much. It was a great race. I mean, I had a lot of action in front of me with cars crashing and so on, and I had some cool overtaking maneuvers. So actually it was a good race. Car was working pretty decent, so I'm just happy driving around.
Congratulations, great race for you, and now I guess you've got to go, so someone pulling on him there. So at least we got to hear from Eki, and later on we'll hear from the other two. So back to you guys.
Poor Verena trying to interview Matthias Ekstrom, and he's being pulled out of the way. Goodness me, well done. Great work, Verena. Working jolly hard to get those drivers for us, and of course she'll be getting Maxime Martin and Bruno Spengler equally, but Matthias Ekström did a great job off the back of his rallycross success last weekend as well.
And I love the downplayment of all of that. I was happy just driving around.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that he's battled his way up the order, the fact that in one of the fastest touring cars on the planet he gets third place after a really hard race, but was super cool, super Swede, takes third position, and as you rightly say, puts himself back in the mix for the championship. But Maxime Martin with 25 points for that race win there in replay, being congratulated by Martin Tomczyk, who knows what it's like to score your first DTM win. It's a very special moment for Maxime. I don't know where his dad will be watching this race from, Jean-Michel, but I think he's going to be very, very proud indeed. In the 1970s, Jean-Michel was a real legend in Belgian touring car racing, and as I think I mentioned in qualifying, still competes to this day in historic Formula One races. Great enthusiast, great competitor, and we'll be very, very proud of his son. He's been very proud of his success in GT racing, but to come to a championship like this and to be a winner in his first half of his first season is a mighty achievement indeed. Robert Wickens, Daniel Junqueira walk down the pit lane. Gary Paffett likewise, with some hard luck and disappointment stories to tell in the Mercedes camp once again. Christian Vitoris, the top Mercedes driver, in 7th at the end.
Which is probably or potentially better than maybe we would have expected.
I think you're right about that.
We're going up to the podium very, very soon. In fact, there we go right now. And, well, a man that is supremely delighted, and rightly so. Jumps to the top step of the podium. Here comes Bruno Spengler right now. And cool as a cucumber, Matthias Ekström then, who we heard from Verena just a few moments ago, congratulates Bruno Spengler and Maxime Martin.
And we are 5 races in, and it's 3-2 BMW against Mercedes, which means Audi has yet to win in DTM 2014. As for the first time for a race winner in the history of the championship, we'll hear the Belgian national anthem. For the first time in the championship's history, a Belgian driver wins a race. And Van der Poel is watching as well, as the man that won the championship in 1987. He'll be very proud of his fellow countryman's achievement. Mr. Kim Jong-woo, the general manager for Hankook in Russia, hands over the winner's trophy. Jens Marquardt leads the applause from ground level. And as the BMW team can celebrate victory as well, it has been a great drive offered up by Maxime Martin, and it's the RMG team, of course, in the BMW ranks that takes the win. Bruno Spengler takes second, and Matthias Ekström points once again for third. That will be a good result in itself, but still I suspect there'll be some discussions internally at Audi as to why we're scoring points but not race wins.
Yes, I think you're probably right. So, both Ekström and Spengler certainly beating Martin to the race to get the Henkel-Trocken Open, that's for sure. And, well, that is a moment that he will remember for a jolly long time. First top step in DTM.
And if over the course of the first half of the season you've been wondering why I've been making such a fuss about Maxime Martin, that's sort of your answer, really, because he's now proved that he can deliver in his rookie season. He comes home as a race winner, and a dominant race winner. Never troubled, was he, whether it was safety cars or pit stops. No. He played them all perfectly.
And what was remarkable was the minute the safety cars had gone back in, he just went back into the mode that he'd been in and begun to open up that gap to Spengler again. Yeah. You know, just clean, consistent, quality laps every time.
But that is the mark, I would be tempted to say, of a long-distance sports car GT racer, because if you're told in, for example, the Spa 24 hours, right, you're in the car for 3 hours and we need you to be doing that lap time, and he can do it lap after lap, bang, 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 then it's almost second nature. You know, you're released, you go back onto your target lap time and you carry on. And he did it. Bruno Spengler lets the bottle drop, Maxime Martin lets the bottle go, and the RMG engineers have got much to celebrate once they've left the Ministry of Silly Walks, obviously.
Well, podium done and dusted. And they pose for yet more photographs here. What a dramatic race.
And what a drive by this man, Matthias Ekström, 11th on the grid. And with guile, with strategy, with racecraft, and with a little bit of good fortune, eliminating cars ahead of him, he comes home in third. Bruno Spengler just never looked to be as quick as Maxime Martin. He didn't do anything wrong, but his lap times just weren't as quick. The gaps opened up in the first, second and third periods of the race, interrupted by safety cars. And this man has been peerless. Maxime Martin has won in the DTM for the very first time with one of the most impressive drives we've seen for a long time.
Yes, as we mentioned just moments ago, each and every lap that he did was faultless. And Barina is down there now with both Bruno Spengler and Maxime Martin.
Yes, indeed. Actually, I'm here with all three, and just one thing's got to be mentioned. Matthias' trophy just broke, but we heard glass is a lot of luck, so that for the future. But first of all, Maxime, you did a phenomenal job. Your first pole yesterday and now your first victory. I mean, you've just got to be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. I'm still not realizing. It's just amazing. It's my 5th race. And one pole, one victory, it's just great, and I have no words. And yeah, thank you BMW, thank you the team, thank you.
And one man who also fought so incredibly hard is Bruno Spengler. 2nd place, congratulations. You're smiling, you're happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. It was a good weekend. You know, we started a bit difficult in free practice yesterday. Struggled to find the right setup. You know, Maxime was very quick today, and he did an amazing job. Congratulations to him, really great race. He just make no mistakes, and he was quick, so you know, we have to carry on working, but it's great points for BMW. You know, it's really good, 1 and 2. I think Marco is P4, so that's also pretty good. In general, for us, it's good, even though the safety cars and all this, you know, it could have gone completely wrong, but we made it, so I'm very happy. Thank you to my team Schnitzer and to BMW Motorsports. It's a great day for us.
Certainly is. Thank you so much, Bruno. Do enjoy 2nd place. And now, Bruno, that is. Now back to you guys.
Thank you, Verena. Well, Bruno, you're absolutely right. Marco was in P4. As we look at the Moscow Raceway flag, and, well, all the promise coming into this weekend in Russia has been delivered. Great weather, great circuit, great racing too.
We weren't really sure what to make of it before the weekend. Some people were fearing that it wouldn't lend itself to overtaking, others thinking that turn 13 would be good for action. It certainly was. We had drama at other places as well, and the safety car has been quite busy this season because of the nature of circuits or indeed weather conditions, such as Ossersleben or the Norris Ring. But here in sweltering heat, the safety car busy, partly because of that mechanical drama that befell Scheider and then the clash between Rockenfeller and Tombe. But had that safety car, or had there been a safety car after those that started on hards switched onto the option tyre, it would have been a very different story altogether. But yeah, for the likes of Martin and Spengler, it did work out just about perfectly. I'm still intrigued to know what was going on for Farfus in that 2nd stint. I know he never had the fastest car this weekend, but the lap times just weren't good enough, and whether it was any legacy of an early problem that the car had picked up, or whether it was just the general lack of car speed that he's had over the course of the weekend, relative lap, because he still qualified 6th, which ain't half bad, but he just was not able to do the lap times he needed in the 2nd stint for him when he'd switched onto those softer tyres. We'd said he needed to be at least 2.4 seconds a lap quicker. He wasn't getting on every lap even to 2 seconds faster, and yet that was the kind of margin people were pulling in the 1st stint. And it wasn't all down to traffic, because he rejoined with a clear road ahead of him.
Yes. Well, of course, those cars that we lost in the course of this race, Tombe and Rockenfeller, for that incident which Mike has held his hands up for and said was completely his fault. Timo Scheider with a fault with the car, and Paul di Resta and Jamie Green we lost earlier on, didn't we? And there you can see the stricken Mike Rockenfeller car being returned to the paddock right now.
It was Timo Glock's move on him when Glock was on the soft tyre, Rockenfeller on the hard tyre in the early stages of the race. And Rockenfeller defending for all he was worth, but the Schaeffler Audi having to give best. This was the fight between Augusto Farfus and also the brave Mercedes up on the inside in the hands of Christian Vitoris, who yet again Vitoris was able to gain lots of ground. We had the fight between Wickens and Tomczyk, but Antonio Felix da Costa as well, trying to get himself in the mix late in the race. He finished 11th, just out of the points.
That was the incident that I was mentioning just a few moments ago between Tombe and Mike Rockenfeller. Basically, we've heard that Rocky locked up, didn't he, and launched into the back of Tombe, as you so rightly said. It wasn't that that caused the damage. It was as Tombe spun and then caught the Rockenfeller car again. That's what caused the damage to Mike Rockenfeller. But what it did do, of course, it completely ruined both Mike Rockenfeller and Adrien Tombe's race.
You called it right at the time, because it was Rockenfeller with that puff of tar smoke slithered into the back of Tombe, and then bang, as the Schaeffler Audi went round the outside. Tombe was on that same trajectory. They met in the middle, and Rockenfeller knew he'd put 2 Audis out of the race, and potentially the race win that got away. So huge frustration for him. Delight, though, at BMW, and in the end, Matthias Ekström left to uphold Audi honour. Second half of the year is going to be fascinating, isn't it now? The young pup, Marco Wittmann, taking on the old master, the oldest man in the championship, Matthias Ekström. It always used to be Bernd Schneider that was able to keep on winning the odd race and winning titles and taking points, and had this tremendous career in the DTM. And I know the whole shape of the championship has changed, as we've said, over the course of this year. It's now very much about the young career racing driver. But you discount Matthias Ekström at your peril, and he's reminded people of how good he still is, and he's back in the mix, and the championship fight is far from over.
Yes, it bodes well for the remaining races that we have in the second half of the season. Up next, off to the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Then we return to Germany and the Nürburgring.
And then there is a trip to China, which is going to be new for this year after the Lausitz Ring, and Hockenheim is the season finale. The great atmosphere that the last round always has, and hopefully it's going to be a fantastic decider for the championship. So, a race won by Maxime Martin. The cars are, as you look at some of the highlights in replay, just going now to the scrutineering area, which they will have to go to post-race. And once everything has been approved from there, then the cars will be released back to the teams. The drivers will go to the press conference, but I think I'm right in saying that Max is still on the podium at the moment, being interviewed by television crews. The BMW PR department are hovering, ready to whisk him to the press conference, and as soon as he has been whisked, then we will be able to go to René de Boer in the press conference and hear from the winning drivers, and indeed hear from the best place of the Mercedes drivers as well, because it's 2 BMWs and an Audi in the top 3. Maxime Martin, I think, is now on his way to the presser, and then you'll have also Christian Vitoris there as well as the best place of the Mercedes drivers. But we had some great racing. Nice little touch this weekend. We didn't really mention it during the race, but all the cars having the short code of the driver's name, and then in the Cyrillic alphabet as well, the driver's name underneath, a nod to their hosts here.
Yes. And DTM.com is the website where you can check out all the information about this fantastic season we're having in DTM, as we see Tomczyk out there with various bits being thrown off his car. Robert Wickens then with a bold and ambitious and fairly charged move that we see in replay. DTM.com, the website. Press conference on its way. And whilst you were mentioning the nice touch for our hosts here in Moscow, must say that this raceway has delivered not only some dramatic race action and qualifying, but some fantastic weather as well, a big crowd, and in fairness, this raceway, this circuit, you know, we didn't know quite what to expect, did we? But, you know, I like this 3.9 kilometre version.
I think it's good, and I think the drivers like it, and it's got a good mix. People tend to dismiss Tilke circuits because they're not like good old-fashioned tracks like Spa, for example. But Hermann Tilke is always given a set of dimensions in which he has to build a facility, and he does a good job. And here, there are some very challenging corners, a good mix of the type of corner found at other circuits, all put together, long straights for overtaking, tight bits, twiddly bits, lots of elevation changes as well. And I think he gets a bad press, actually, and this is a good venue, and it's given us some very good racing, and it's given us a drama-filled fifth round of the championship. And the halfway point of the season completed, the teams have a chance now to perhaps just catch their breath and have a think on how the first half of the season has developed as we head to the press conference.
Joined by the best placed Mercedes-Benz driver who came seventh in today's race, Christian Vitoris.